Intel are launching the Z390 chipset to support their newer 9th generation of CPUs, and starting off on that coverage, I've got the Z390 MPG Gaming Pro Carbon motherboard from MSI here. So let's check it out and find out a bit more about the 9th gen CPUs. Inside the box, we of course have the motherboard itself, manual and driver CD, and various cables, including 2 SATA cables, 3 RGB cables, and a 2-way SLI bridge. Alright, so I haven't been able to get my hands on any Intel 9th gen CPUs yet, but I'll be discussing them more towards the end of the video. So I'll just be testing this Z390 board with my trusty 8700K instead. Which brings me to the first, and perhaps most interesting point of the Z390 boards. It's possible to use 8th gen Intel CPUs in Z390 motherboards. And also the other way, so 9th gen CPUs in the older 8th gen motherboards after a BIOS update. They both use the LGA 1151 socket, so a nice change from Intel's recent launches. Anyway, back to the motherboard. It's an ATX board with a nice clean black and metallic silver color scheme, with a couple of spots of carbon fiber pattern. There's Rgb lighting on the right hand side and towards the top left, which can be controlled through MSI's Mystic LightSync software, and there are 17 different effects available. Or you can disable it if you prefer. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. Starting with the I/O from left to right, there's a PS2 port, 2 USB 2.0 Type-A ports, DisplayPort 1.2 and HDMI 1.4 outputs, 3 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-A ports and a single Type-C port, Gigabit Ethernet, and the audio ports. The I/O shield comes mounted like this too, so no need to stick it into the case first, easy installation. Next to the CPU socket are the 4 memory slots, which run in dual channel, and can support up to 64GB of memory, with support all the way up to DDR4 4400 speeds. I suggest referring to the QVL to confirm supported memory. As for the PCIe slots, they're all version 3.0. And from the top down, the first is a PCIe by 16 slot to the CPU, followed by 2 PCIe by 1 slots via the chipset, then a physical PCIe by 16 slot, although it's wired for 8 lanes to the CPU, and then another PCIe by 1 slot via the chipset, and then a third PCIe by 16 physical slot, although wired for 4 through the chipset. The board also gives you support for either 2-way SLI or up to 3-way crossfire, and the first 2 PCIe by 16 slots are reinforced with metal. The first M.2 slot is found just above the PCIe slots, and it takes drives of these sizes. There's a second M.2 slot towards the bottom, and it's hidden behind this piece of metal, which helps to dissipate the heat. Just make sure you peel the plastic off of the thermal pad before installation. Both M.2 slots support PCIe or SATA storage. Due to limitations of the platform, if you use different combinations of M.2 slots or SATA ports, others may become disabled, as per this table. For example, if both M.2 slots have PCIe storage installed, then SATA ports 5 and 6 will not be usable. Along the top of the board, there are 4 and 8-pin power connectors, CPU fan header, RGB header, and Corsair connector. Along the right-hand side, there's 6 SATA 3 connectors, 2 USB 3.1 Gen 1 connectors, a single USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C connector, the 24-pin power connector, and system and pump fan headers. Along the bottom, there's the front panel audio, 2 more RGB headers, 3 more system fan headers, 2 internal USB 2 headers, Thunderbolt connector, and front panel connectors. The 5th system fan header is found just above the top M.2 slot, and there's a TPM connector just above the second PCIe by 16 slot. Using the SATA ports, there's support for RAID 0, 1, 5, or 10, and you can use Intel's Optane with either M.2 slot, which basically caches frequently accessed items from a hard drive, resulting in faster overall performance. And there's also the option of running the 2 M.2 slots in RAID 0 or 1. To boot into the BIOS, simply press the delete key during boot. I found it easy to navigate through and make changes, basically the same as all of the other MSI motherboards I've used. Interestingly, there's no BIOS flashback button on this board, a nice feature on previous MSI boards I've looked at, which allows you to update and flash BIOS without the system running or even without a CPU installed. I suppose that feature may be reserved for AMD's Ryzen platform, where they've actually guaranteed support of it until 2020, whereas who really knows with Intel. I'm still pretty surprised that I can use an 8th gen or 9th gen processor in this board. Here are the specs of some of the new 9th gen Intel CPUs, namely the i9 9900K, i7 9700K, and i5 9600K. This is the first time we've had an i7 chip without hyperthreading. If you want that, you'll be looking at the top-end 9900K. And this is also the first time Intel's mainstream lineup has had an 8-core option, finally matching AMD's Ryzen in core count. The clock speeds out of the box are just a touch ahead of the 8th gen, so I'm keen to see how they compare. Interestingly, Intel appear to have taken another leaf out of AMD's book and are using a soldered IHS. So in theory, that should help thermal performance of these undoubtedly hot parts. With that in mind though, we'll need to see further testing to find out whether or not the older boards designed for the 8th generation are able to provide enough power to 8-core chips like the 9700K or 9900K. I suspect they would probably be best paired with the Z390 board, especially when overclocking. Otherwise, the Z390 chipset isn't too different from Z370. With Z390, there's now integrated USB 3.1 Gen 2, Wi-Fi, and SDXC support. Pricing of the Gaming Pro Carbon will change over time, so check the links in the description for up-to-date prices. At the time of recording, so a little before the official Z390 release, MSI have advised that the board should be going for around $339 Australian dollars, or $369 Australian dollars for the AC model with Wi-Fi built in. I'm not too sure about US pricing at the moment. Again, look for the links in the description later. While I haven't seen official pricing of other boards yet, as again this video was made pre-launch, I suspect that the Gaming Pro Carbon will continue to be a mid to upper range option. There'll be cheaper, more budget-friendly options, and absolute insanity like the MSI Godlike board. In any case, the Gaming Pro Carbon seems like a pretty solid motherboard. I liked the colour scheme, tasteful Rgb lighting, and I had no issues to report while using it. Let me know what you guys thought of the board and your take on the Z390 launch and 9th gen CPUs down in the comments. Again, sorry I wasn't able to do more interesting testing with an Intel 9th gen CPU. It is what it is, and I'm just happy I was able to get a board in time for the Z390 launch. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for future tech videos like this one.